Não pôs.
Real got an opinion, alright? I don't know, so I just kicked off. Don't fight Muslims, guys.
He's outnumbered a bit. He said, show me where Jesus said that he was God. And I showed you.
A bit of a scuffle with Robinson.
I am the last.
What did he say together?
Jesus said, I am the first, I am the last. Jesus
was the first, I am the last.
When Jesus was
No Muslims. No Muslims.
Let me ask you this question.
when Jesus was
According to
dead,
the Quran, who
I
is
will
the
answer his
first
question.
and the last?
I will answer his
Let's
question.
ask Siraaj.
Okay. Answer his question.
According to the Quran, who is the first and who is the last?
Let him allow me to speak. Thank you.
Answer that question.
Thank you.
According to the Quran,
Thank you. Wait.
Let me speak.
Be quiet.
Go on, eh?
Here, Christians and
No,
Muslims.
hold on 1 second.
No one can shout.
Was he quiet when I was trying to talk? Who is the
I got the answer.
standards?
Can he be quiet?
No one needs to be quiet.
I got the answer. Can he be quiet?
Nobody. You weren't
the
quiet
answer.
for me.
I got the answer.
You weren't quiet for me.
I got the
So
answer.
who? Answer the question.
If you're gonna
And answer the
Watch
question.
out. Okay, would you allow me?
Answer the question.
Yes. I will speak.
Who is the last?
I will speak.
Who is, according to the Quran, who is the first
Wait,
and
yeah.
the last?
Wait.
Yeah, I'm listening. Siraj.
Okay.
Siraj, I'm listening.
Shall I speak?
No,
Shall I
Siraj.
speak?
Answer the
Shall I
question.
speak? Shall I speak?
Siraj, we're waiting.
Okay, I got the
Go on,
answer.
go on.
I got the answer. Okay.
after this, yeah.
Yeah.
No, because I'm only waiting for
Yeah, I got the answer. I'm going to embarrass you.
We're waiting for him.
Listen.
Answer the question. What's the question, ladies and
I got the answer.
gentlemen? The question is,
Okay.
who is the first and the last?
Let him allow.
Quran.
Let him.
Answer the question.
Okay.
Answer the
Be
question.
quiet. I'll answer. Be quiet.
No, you don't need to be quiet for this troll. He wasn't quiet for me.
Go on.
Double standards.
See.
The Muslim
Okay.
wants you to be quiet.
He's not letting me speak.
Answer. Answer.
Ask him to be quiet. Ask him to be quiet.
Answer.
How old are you?
What's the answer to the question?
I got the answer.
According to the
I got the
Quran,
answer.
who's the
Can you be
first and the
quiet?
last? No, I don't need to be quiet for you. Because you interrupted.
How can I answer then? How can I answer?
Question, Siraj.
Okay, I will
Just
answer.
answer.
Okay.
I'll count to
Okay.
30.
Oh, no, 30.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute.
The question is, according to the
I got the
Quran,
answer from the Bible. I got the answer from the Bible. 1 minute. 1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute. No. Okay. So now be quiet. Okay. According to the Bible, he said Jesus claimed to be Alpha and the Omega. Yes. My first question: when Jesus was dead, how can a dead person be last? First question. Okay. Number 2, he quoted an Revelation.
30 seconds.
Wait.
He didn't answer. No. He didn't answer the question. He didn't answer the question. Let's give him another 30 seconds.
Okay.
The question is,
Okay.
there's fault. There's fault. There's fault. There's fault.
All I'm answering was the Quran and the Bible. No, he's
There's fault.
I
There's
got the
fault.
answer from the Bible.
There's fault. There's fault. There's fault. There's fault. Keep your Alice snack
Okay,
yourself.
give me another 30 seconds.
The question was, ladies and gentlemen, according to the Quran,
But is he a child?
who is the
Is he a
first
child?
and the last?
Why is he acting like a child?
Let's give him
Why is he acting like childish?
answer the question.
I know.
I got the answer. I dare I got the answer.
What's the answer?
I got the answer.
Give us the answer. Come on.
Look,
Now 20
I'm going to talk about both Quran and the Bible.
But that wasn't the question.
Yes, even in the Quran and the Bible. First, let me start from the Bible.
From the Quran.
Wait, from the Bible.
30 seconds, and he still hasn't answered the question.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, the question is who, according to the Quran,
I will answer.
I'm Alpha and I'm Omega.
give him
Okay.
10 seconds. No, 15 seconds.
Coward.
Want to hear from the Quran.
We leave him. We leave.
Okay.
We want to
Now I'm going to answer. Listen, please.
15
I'm going to
seconds,
answer.
ladies and gentlemen.
Wait.
And he still not has answered the
People are
question.
talking over me.
Question
Can you be
is,
quiet?
according to the
Can you be
Quran,
quiet?
who is the first and the last?
Wait.
Let's give him 20 seconds again.
Okay, be quiet. No, 20 is not enough. Okay, now I'm going to talk in front of him. Okay, so now
9, 10,
Jesus,
11, 12,
the verse he quoted from the Bible is not Jesus is speaking. It's a sheep with 7 heads, with 7 horns.
don't talk about Jesus.
That verse,
Don't talk about
according to Bible, the verse he quoted is a sheep who is talking in the Bible. A sheep with 7 horns, with 7 heads. So my question is: Jesus last and alpha? Is Jesus a sheep with horns, a sheep with 7 horns and with 7 heads?
Jesus is Lord.
Amen.
I'm asking, can a dead person be lost? 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 Jesus died. How can Jesus be Omega?
Coward.
Coward here.
Come, son, come.
Coward.
Coward.
I'm going to expose the lies and the coward of that Christian. His name is Paul. His name is Paul. So basically he said, who is Alpha and Omega according to the Bible? Let me come to the Bible. In the Bible, the one who said last and Omega, Alpha and last, it's not Jesus speaking. It's a sheep with 7 horns and with 7 heads. It says that in Revelation chapter 17 verse 14 and chapter 5 verse 6, chapter 5 again verse 13, it explains who was saying I'm Alpha and Omega. It says that is a sheep with 7 heads and with 7 horns. So my question to Christians, is Jesus a sheep with 7 heads and with 7 horns? The answer is no. So now my question, again I'm asking, Christians believe there was a time Jesus was dead. So my question to them, how can a dead person be Omega? How can a dead person be last? Again, in the Bible, Christians use John 1:1 to claim Jesus is God. It says in the beginning, there was a word, and the word was with God. And the word was God. So my question to Christians again, the word which they believe is Jesus himself had a beginning. So my question to them, how can someone be God when he had a beginning? In John 1:1, it says in the beginning. So we know, all of us, we know that God has no beginning nor end. Christians believe Jesus had a beginning. That's why it says in the beginning. John 1:1, the false corrupted verse. And I refuted that verse by quoting Genesis 1:1. It says in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. So according to Genesis and Old Testament, there was no word which was God. There was no word which existed in the beginning, and that word was God. And the word was with God. In Genesis it says in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. So there was no word in the beginning, according to Genesis 1:1. So my next question is, devil never died. But Jesus died. How can a dead person be lost? And if someone could be God, then according to Christians' logic, devil is God, because devil never died, but Jesus died. Again, he misquoting the verse. Christians don't know Revelation 1 chapter 1 verse 17 to 18 or 13, whatever. They misquote that verse. They say it's Jesus, and I already exposed them. That verse is not Jesus speaking. John himself said, I have seen the Lamb of God. And it had 7 eyes, no, 7 horns and 7 heads. Or 7 eyes, I think. It says in Genesis and Revelation chapter 17, verse 14. It says here, if I quote the verses here, I'm going to expose Christians here. Christians every time quote Revelation.
I wanted you to speak. I wanted you to speak instead before, bro.
They are scared. They are coward.
Because
They are coward.
you know how to answer, so I was like, let Siraaj speak. Let you just...
They are coward. Here, Christians always quote this verse where it says, I'm Alpha and Omega. But they're not quoting, they don't know who is speaking in that verse. In that verse, if we go to Revelation chapter 17, verse 14, it tells us who's that speaking. In Revelation chapter 1, verse 8, or chapter 22. Here it says, Inshallah. It says here, no, I never finished here. I'm quoting the verses, so I want to prove them wrong. Here it says, Revelation 5:6. Then I saw a lamb looking as if it had been slain, standing at the center of the throne, encircled by the 4 living creatures and the elders. The lamb had 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all earth. Now again, if we go to, and this is Revelation 5:6. I'm going to let Christians, to let them know who is speaking in Revelation, who said, I'm Alpha and Omega. That's not Jesus. That's a lamb with 7 horns and 7 eyes. So here, Revelation 17:14 again. It says, they will wage war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will triumph over them, because he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and with him will be his called, chosen and faithful followers. So here my question is, Christians, I'm asking one simple question. According to the Revelation, the same book which they quote in Christians, they said Jesus said, I'm Alpha and Omega. We know who is talking in Revelation. It's a sheep with 7 eyes and 7 horns. So my question to them, is Jesus a sheep with 7 horns? Is Jesus a sheep with 7 eyes? The question is no. There was no time Jesus was a sheep, was a lamb. And as I said, according to Christians, Jesus died on the 4th crucifixion. So my question to them, how can a dead person be Omega last? And according to the Bible, John 1:1, as I mentioned earlier, it says in the beginning, the Word, Jesus himself, had a beginning, according to them. So God never had a beginning. If that's the case, then Hebrews chapter 7 verse 3, Melchizedek had no beginning, had no end, no father, no mother, no genealogy. Yet, according to Christians, Melchizedek is not God, but he's more than Jesus. Jesus had a beginning and he died. And guess what? When Jesus comes, he will die. Because according to the Bible, all prophets, all mankind will die. Jesus is a prophet according to the Bible, and he claimed to be a prophet. He said in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 57, Jesus claimed to be a prophet, and his disciples claimed Jesus to be the prophet. In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 24, verse 19, and the crowd people called him Jesus a prophet. Again, the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 21, verse 11. They call Jesus a prophet. And if we go to the book of Zechariah, it says chapter 1, verse 5, I think. Chapter 5, verse 1. Chapter 1, verse 5, it says, all prophets and your forefathers, where are they? All of them shall die. So according to the Bible, Jesus is a prophet. The only person who claimed Jesus yesterday, today, and tomorrow is the same as Paul the liar. And Paul the liar, he's the one who approved people to be preached false motives about Jesus. He said that in the book of Philippians chapter 1 verse 18. He said the most important thing is to preach false motives about Jesus. Paul is the one who lied about Jesus, and he approved people to preach lies about Jesus. If Jesus is a prophet, same as other prophets, there is no single verse. I challenge all Christians, all the disciples never claimed Jesus will never die. The only person claimed Jesus will be the same today, yesterday, and tomorrow is Paul. Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, all of them never claimed that Jesus will stay forever. But as I proved, according to the book of Zechariah, chapter 1, verse 5, it says here, if I quote the verse, 1 Zechariah. It says in the book of Zechariah, here it says, Zechariah 1:5. It says, where are your ancestors now? And the prophets, do they live forever? The answer is no. According to the Bible, Old Testament, all prophets will die. Jesus is a prophet, and I mentioned, therefore Jesus is not Omega. And Jesus had a beginning. He born. No one knew Jesus in the beginning. He never existed. If Jesus could exist in the beginning, before the world was created, then the prophets of the Bible could worship and believe in Jesus. And they could believe and practice the triune God. So the answer is clear according to the Bible. Jesus is not Alpha and Omega. All prophets must die. Paul is the liar. He said Jesus today and yesterday, tomorrow is the same. But here in the Old Testament it says all prophets shall die. Who is wrong and right? According prophets of the Bible or Paul? So the answer, Paul is the liar. Jesus is not Alpha and Omega. A dead person cannot be Omega. And someone who has a God cannot be God. He's not last and he's not first. Jesus said, I'm going to my Father and your Father, my God and your God. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.